What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Abe Bagoda, and just for some context and reference, if I sound different, I moved into a different room for all my streaming and video editing and stuff, so that'll obviously have some effect on sound. But secondly, this build that I'm playing in this video is just a goofy little kind of half-ass challenge run that I'm doing. It's less of a challenge run and more of like a scientific inquiry. I'm just curious how much stuff I can block with the Carrion Knight sword heavy attack. A lot of people don't know this. I'll make a video about it later. But the Carrion Knight sword is one of two weapons in Elden Ring that if you press heavy attack, R2, because that's what I'm going to call it, if you press R2, before you actually swing the weapon, while you're holding the weapon, and for as long as you hold it, because you can charge those attacks, remember? For as long as you hold it, you will block with the weapon. And it's a really cool little feature that I wish more weapons had. But if a weapon is going to have it, I'm glad that it's a straight sword like this, because I love straight swords. That guy just jumped in the hole, and he was worth every rune in the world, which means he was absurdly over-leveled. I'm level 30 or something. I'll show the build off at the end of the video. But I digress. I'm making this little run, and I'm curious about PvP as well, obviously. How much stuff can you block with the heavy attack of the Carrion Knight sword if you build specifically to do that? And so that's what I've done. Okay, now, that's 2 minutes down. Let's talk about what is actually the subject of this video. Like so many of you, I was disappointed that Shadow of the Erdtree didn't get a release date announcement at the Game Awards, and that was a bummer. And then here recently, there was a leak from a video game controller manufacturer called Thruster. They are making some Elden Ring controllers to coincide with the release of the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. And so that's cool, you know, but we weren't supposed to know that, and we specifically weren't supposed to know that it's going to release in February, according to this company that is making the controllers. They leaked the images and of the controllers, as well as, you know, they're like, oh yeah, this is for Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree, which releases in February. Like, they just put it on their website. And these are, you know, like official controllers. And so it seems to be pretty legit that that's what's going to happen. And that's what this video is about. There's some other stuff in that quote-unquote leak. It's weird to call it a leak because, I mean, a leak implies, you know, I guess it's a leak from Software's point of view, but it's from Thruster's point of view, it's basically just a mistake. So that first image that was taken down off of their website, you know, it was the Bandai Namco and Thrustmaster Elden Ring collaboration. And it had this controller that said it would be available February 2024 to sync with the Shadow of the Erdtree release. And that is, you know, I think, myself included, everybody kind of expected that there would be like this big announcement for the DLC, but in all honesty, that isn't typically how From Software does DLCs. I guess there's also the potential that maybe they would have done a Game Awards. They would have done a Game Awards thing, I guess, but they were worried about that idiot Bill Clinton kid showing back up, or maybe somebody even worse. And so they were just like, "No, we're not going back to America." But what is interesting about this is not just the Shadow of the Erdtree collaboration, but the messaging on the ad. It's not really an ad. I don't know what to call it. The demo, basically. mentions that there is a 2-year collaboration between Thrustmaster and Bandai Namco with regards to these controllers. And so this first controller is set to come out, in February with the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. But then there are other controllers, and it says that those are for the second year of the partnership, and that those are to be tied to 2025. Let me just read it. Release to be synchronized with 2025 Elden Ring Major Key Beat or New Game Expansion. And Major Key Beat is, I don't know, that might be some business marketing term I'm not familiar with. It makes me think of like a keynote speaker. But I don't know what a key beat is. But the idea that there would be collaboration between these two, Bandai Namco and this controller company, into 2025 in regards to Elden Ring, has people assuming that there will be another expansion in 2025 for Elden Ring. And I'll just take From Software at their word that they're just going to do this one expansion. It's possible that their plans changed or that they just lied to keep people engaged with that first expansion. A thing that I don't think a lot of people pay attention to or understand in regards to like marketing stuff is companies don't like to market a lot of stuff at the same time. They focus on one particular thing and they let that sort of be in the limelight and have its moment and focus everything on directing people's attention towards that thing. Like, don't compete with yourself. As an example, like, I thought it was weird that Monster Hunter got announced at the Game Awards before Dragon's Dogma released. That was a strange choice to me, but hey, whatever. Monster Hunter is a massive series, like more akin to Pokemon than Dragon's Dogma, in all honesty. But yeah, so what are they doing in 2025 with Elden Ring? And some people have speculated that it might be a sequel, and some people have speculated that there might actually be a second expansion that's made. That seems absurd to me. That would be 3 years after the release of the game, an expansion coming out. And that is just so not what From Software typically does. To be fair, From Software typically also doesn't sell 20 million copies of a game, so we might be in an atypical scenario. But to me, it seems more likely that 2025 could be the release of something akin to Scholar of the First Sin that Dark Souls 2 got. Sort of taking the expansion, putting it into the base game, selling it as one game, and putting that exclusively on next-gen consoles. When Dark Souls 2 came out, to try and maximize the amount of money it made, it came out on the PS3 and the PS4, as well as the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. I think that's what Xboxes were called. I remember the 360. I don't remember after that. Then, after a year or so, they took all the DLCs that they released, all the expansions that they released for Dark Souls 2. They put it all in the game and made some changes to enemy placement and layout and stuff like that. And they re-released Dark Souls 2, and they called it Scholar of the First Sin. It was Dark Souls 2 Remastered, if I'm not mistaken. And that was for exclusively the next-gen, at the time, consoles, PS4 and Xbox One. A 2025 Elden Ring something or other makes me think that more than it makes me think another expansion. you know, like a game of the year edition type thing. You know, the definitive edition, Elden Ring, the definitive edition. I don't expect one of the main problems with Scholar of the First Sin was it was, I mean, like a different game. Like when I say enemies got moved around, I don't mean like a little bit. I mean like all of them. And so it literally like split the player base. If you were playing Dark Souls 2, you could not do co-op or invade or whatever. You could not do any of that with a person who was playing Scholar. If you were playing the original version, you couldn't play with people who played Scholar. And the fact that they came out a year from each other, they kind of like split the player base up. Nowadays, everybody just has Scholar, so it's not a problem. The idea of waiting 2 years to do that makes sense to me. But I don't know that Elden Ring needs to have that remix of enemies moved around. I'll be totally honest. I'm not sure Dark Souls 2 did either. They made some areas worse by a large margin. They made some areas worse in Scholar. The Iron Keep, for example, like it's just better in the OG Dark Souls 2 than it is in Scholar. Just one man's opinion. But yeah, I could see them doing something like that. Like, okay, it's been 2 years. Let's put this game out on exclusively the current generation's consoles. And we'll have the DLC included in it. We can optimize the game a bit further. I'm not sure they need to move enemies around or anything like that, but maybe they do. So this is the build that I'm currently playing with. I was thinking about leveling up right there. I ended up not doing it. I actually have been streaming on YouTube whenever I am playing Elden Ring. So, you might have seen me playing with this build, going through the game. This is where I'm at currently. I'm just kind of staying low level just to goof off and see how much I can get away with. But I was considering leveling up right there, so I might do that. But anyway, I'll have more with this build in the future. And yeah, hopefully it's real, copium. And we get Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erd Tree in February. That'd be great. We'll find out soon, I guess. Till next time, later, y'all.